There's a part of your body that cannot keep a secret. It sits in plain sight, in the middle of your face, and it has been broadcasting your every thought since the day you were born. Almost no other creature on Earth has one, and you are using it right now to read this. You're sitting across from someone. They're talking. And then, for less than a second, their eyes flick toward the door. You saw it. You knew instantly. Something in you registered the exact direction of their glance, decoded it, and understood that they wanted to leave, all before a single word was spoken. But the real answer to how you did that is far stranger than it seems. That tiny flick of the eyes carried a message, and the fact that you could read it makes you one of the rarest kinds of creature on Earth. Look at your eyes in a mirror. Really look. There's the colored part, the iris. There's the dark center, the pupil, and then there's the white. That bright, clean, unmistakable white surrounding everything else. You never think about it. It's just there. But that white is a mystery that took scientists decades to understand. And almost no other animal on the planet has it the way you do. Why would your eyes be built to give you away? Think about a cat. Try to tell exactly where a cat is looking. You can't, not really. Its eyes are large and dark, and the direction of its gaze blurs into shadow. Think about a dog, a wolf, a deer. Their eyes hide where they are pointed. Now think about a chimpanzee, your closest living relative, sharing almost your entire genetic code. Even a chimp's eyes are darker, browner, harder to read. The whites are stained and muddy, and the outline of the eye vanishes into the fur and skin. Why can you read a person's glance from across a room, but not a cat's from 2 feet away? Yours don't disappear. Yours announce. In 2001, 2 Japanese researchers named Hiromi Kobayashi and Shiro Kohshima decided to measure this properly. They studied the eyes of nearly 90 different primate species: monkeys, apes, lemurs, and humans. They measured the shape of each eye, the color of the sclera, and the amount of white left exposed. And what they found set human eyes completely apart. Your eyes expose more white than any other primate. Your sclera is not brown or gray or spotted. It is white, and your eye is stretched into a long horizontal shape that frames the iris like a target, so that the smallest movement of your gaze becomes visible from across a room. They found something else too. The contrast between that white, the colored iris, and the dark pupil is sharper in you than in any animal they measured. 3 clearly separated zones, lined up like the rings of a bullseye. A tiny sideways slide of the iris, and the change is unmissable. In every other species they studied, the eye was built to blur the direction of the gaze. In you, it was built to reveal it. Your eye was engineered by evolution for legibility. They gave this a name: the gaze camouflage hypothesis, for the animals hiding where they look, and its opposite for you. So sit with the strangeness of that for a moment. In the wild, hiding your gaze is a matter of life and death. A lion stalking a gazelle cannot afford to let its target see where it is aiming. A gazelle scanning the horizon cannot afford to reveal that it has spotted the lion. A rival watching another's mate cannot afford to broadcast his intentions. For almost every animal that has ever lived, the eyes are a secret. To show where you are looking is to show what you want, what you fear, and what you are about to do. And that information, in the wrong hands, gets you killed. Every instinct of survival says the same thing: hide it. And yet somewhere along the line, your ancestors did the exact opposite. They evolved eyes that could not keep a secret, eyes that lit up the direction of every glance in bright, unmissable white. Why would nature take an animal's most guarded signal and turn it into a billboard? The answer is the whole reason you exist as you are. Your ancestors did not survive alone. They survived in groups. They hunted together, raised children together, shared food, built shelters, and warned each other of danger. And in a life like that, knowing where another person is looking is not a weakness. It is a superpower. A single glance toward a hidden predator could save the whole group without a sound. A look toward a ripe tree, a flake of stone, or a newborn child could pass knowledge from one mind to another instantly. Your eyes stopped being a secret because among your people, there were no enemies to hide them from. There was only the group, and the group survived by seeing together. There is another reason your people needed to read each other's eyes. Human children are helpless for an extraordinarily long time, years. A young horse walks within hours of birth, but a human child cannot feed itself for years and cannot survive alone for a decade or more. All that time, it must learn what to eat, what to fear, how to shape a tool, how to read the faces around it. And so much of that learning passes through the eyes. A mother looks at a berry, then at her child, then back at the berry, and a lesson travels silently between them. Your long, helpless childhood and your readable eyes grew up together, each one making the other possible. This is called the cooperative eye hypothesis. And the person who did the most to prove it is a psychologist named Michael Tomasello. Tomasello, working with a researcher named Brian Hare, designed an experiment that is almost beautiful in its simplicity. They wanted to know what different creatures pay attention to when they follow another's gaze. Do they follow the head or do they follow the eyes? So they gathered great apes, chimpanzees, gorillas, bonobos, and they gathered human infants, too young to speak, too young to have learned much of anything. Then, an experimenter looked upward in different ways, sometimes moving the head and the eyes together, sometimes moving only the eyes, keeping the head perfectly still, sometimes moving only the head, with the eyes closed. And the apes and the babies split in a way that reveals everything. The apes followed the head. When the experimenter kept their head still and moved only their eyes, the apes mostly missed it. They needed the big, obvious motion of the whole head to know where to look. But the human infants did the opposite. They followed the eyes. Even the tiniest movement of the eyes alone was enough to pull a baby's attention in the same direction. Before these children could walk or talk, they were already reading eyes, already treating a glance as a message. Why would a creature be born already fluent in a language of the eyes? Because that language is stitched into you at the deepest level. There's a researcher named Teresa Farroni who pushed this even further. She studied newborns, not babies, newborns, some of them only 2 or 3 days old, alive for a matter of hours. And she showed them faces. Some of the faces looked directly at them. Some looked away. And even at a few days old, with almost no experience of the world, the newborns looked longer at the faces that met their gaze. They preferred the eyes that were pointed back at them. You did not learn to seek out another person's gaze. You arrived seeking it. It was waiting inside you before your first full day of life. Now think about what that means for every moment you have lived since. When someone looks you in the eye, you feel it, physically, like a small pressure. When someone won't meet your gaze, you feel that too, and it unsettles you. When a person hides their eyes behind dark sunglasses, something in you goes quiet and cautious, because a face with no visible eyes is a face with the message switched off. You have spent your entire life reading the whites of other people's eyes and offering up your own to be read. You just never noticed you were doing it. Have you ever wondered why a stranger's stare can be felt before it is even seen? This is why a baby locking eyes with you can stop you in your tracks. It is a signal you were built to answer, arriving from someone who was built to send it. It is why you can walk into a room and know in an instant who is glad to see you. It is why a person who avoids your eyes can read as dishonest, even when they are only shy. And it is why the most powerful thing one person can offer another is sometimes nothing more than to hold their gaze and not look away. It is also why loneliness cuts as deep as it does. To be lonely is not only to be without company, it is to go unseen. It is to carry a pair of eyes designed for connection, broadcasting into a room where no other eyes are turned toward you. Your species did not evolve to be looked past. It evolved to be looked at and to look back. Consider how much of your life runs on this silent channel. A glance across a crowded room that says everything. A parent's eyes finding a child in a school play, and the child feeling found. A teacher's gaze landing on the one student who finally understands. Two people who love each other saying nothing at all, because the eyes have already said it. None of this needs language. All of it is older than language. Long before your ancestors could speak, they could look and be understood. The white of the eye was the first alphabet, and it is why a screen can feel almost like connection, yet never quite reach it. A face on a video call is looking into its own camera, not into your eyes, and some ancient part of you notices the gaze that never lands. Why can you spend an entire day talking through glass and still feel completely alone? Because the channel your ancestors built runs on real eyes, turned toward you in the same room. And here is the strangest part of all. You are reading these very words with the one organ evolution designed to be read by others. The eyes scanning this sentence are the same eyes that on a firelit night 100,000 years ago could warn a companion of a shape moving in the dark with nothing but a shift of the gaze. That machinery is still inside you, unchanged. Every time your eyes move, you're speaking, and everyone around you, whether they know it or not, is listening. So the next time you are sitting across from someone, and their eyes flick, just for a second, towards a door, remember what you are really seeing. You are not reading their glance. You are reading a language older than words, written in the whites of the eyes, that your ancestors wrote into you long before you were born. You saw it. You knew instantly. You always will. Before you close this, do one last thing. If this made you look at the eyes around you a little differently, subscribe to this channel. Every story here works the same way. It takes something you do without ever thinking about it and reveals the ancient reason hiding underneath. Leave a like so more people can find it, and subscribe so the next one finds you. Your eyes were built to notice what truly matters. Consider this one more thing worth noticing.